What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Pro Winston here. Another Winston profile with the one and only Frazier Smith. Frazier, where's your hometown at, boy?
I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I've lived here my whole life. That's where I started everything at.
And how long you been playing the game?
I've been playing since around when, like, the first banlist, like when Black Lost Soldier deck was like the best deck, Metamorphosis, Scapegoats, like back then. But I only played at like locals because my dad would drop me, so I was really young back then. And I never was allowed to travel to like a shonen jump or anything like that. Or my parents were very protective, so I never got to really go too far to play Yu-Gi-Oh. But I played a lot of locals, and I started playing regionals like 2 years after I started playing in like the Black Lost Soldier format with Metamorphosis and Scapegoats and stuff like that. But yeah.
And since you've been playing for a very long time in the game, do you believe that the game has got better or worse?
I think the game has gotten better. And the reason why I say the game has gotten better is because the game has gotten a lot harder, in my opinion. Like, yes, there are a lot of power cards, and I agree with like a lot of other pros who you profile so far. But at the same time, there's so many more things to consider now, like synchro plays and exceeds plays, and then what you can do when the monster comes to the field. And side decking has gotten harder because, like everyone said, everyone proves that the game has gotten like different because side decking is harder against so many different decks. Whereas I say the game has gotten harder because side decking against so many different decks makes you better at the game itself. You know, like if you have to side against GK, Samurais, Tech Genist, Lightsworn, and Agents, I mean that's a lot of array of things to incorporate your side deck, but then you have to figure out like how your deck personally will factor in against all of those matchups, and then side deck cards that are both generic and cards that will do things against all of those decks, and then cards that are specific to those decks, like Legion of Light is very specific, but it can work against Lightsworn, and it can work against like, you know, you play against any other random light deck, like somebody's playing, I don't know, like Hero Bee, for instance, they play a lot of light monsters. You might be able to catch them with a Shining on the field and summon Venus, pay 15, summon 3 Shine Balls, Legion of Light, and kill them. Like, it's just gotten, I think it's personally gotten harder because it exceeds its synchros.
All right. So you're in favor of the new game mechanics?
Yeah,
then?
I'm definitely in favor of all the new game mechanics.
All right, and how many tops do you have in this game?
As of right now, I have 6 tops. I got my latest top in Kansas City. I started back in, like, last year was my first top when I actually won in Atlanta. And then my second top was in Charlotte, and then Rhode Island, and Nationals, Toronto, and Kansas.
All right. And throughout those tournaments, have you incorporated what a misplay is?
Yes, I actually have a misplay. If you look at my feature match in top 16 of Rhode Island, I misplayed my top 16 feature match. Not only do I misplay, I make a play that is literally illegal. I activate Reinforced Truth while I have a Doom Carbonite on the field, and I summon a Partial from my deck and defense mode, and I passed my opponent, and when Partial's in defense mode, you take 1,000 life points and it activates. And I killed my Doom Cob, my Partial, but I had attacked that turn, which is why it was illegal, because you cannot activate Reinforced Truth the turn you attack. So that was a misplay. Well, my definition of a misplay is any play that deviates from perfect play. And perfect play is, although very, very harsh to say perfect, I still think that you can play the game to an extent where, judging by the knowledge that you have at the time and probability, there is a right play to make at all times, which is the perfect play, and then there's just every other play is simply a misplay because it is not perfect. It is not the best play to not only put you in a better position to win the game, but also judging by the information that you have, it's not the best play.
All right. And lately, I've noticed that in the tournaments you've played, you play a deck that you never really played before or topped with, but you always play the good decks. Do you ever think you're gonna deviate from what everyone else is playing and just play yours?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I started out as I feel like with a rogue player. I mean, playing GK in Atlanta was a big difference from. Like, I mean, that was really the main like anti type thing that I've ever really done. I've never been like the anti player. I've always tried to play the cookie cutter deck, but at the same time, I always, every YCS for some reason, I always play a deck that's not necessarily the best deck, and I know it's not the best deck, but I still try to do well with it. Like, I played Dragoonides in Charlotte, and I knew damn well Dragoonides was not the best deck for Charlotte. But I still played it because not only do I think that I could top with the deck, I thought that it also could win, and I actually like the strategy. Like, it's something different. I know a lot of people were not going to be playing it. A lot of people were not playing. A lot of people were playing decks they knew were already better. They already knew that X-Sabers were good. They knew that at that time Samurais were good. And Samurais ended up winning, but at the same time, 2 Dragoonid players did make it on the top, me being one of them. So.
Yeah, I remember we all got the deck list from that person, and you and Jerry topped, and I did not. Ugh.
I really like this game. Like, playing different decks is a really key part in defining yourself as a good player. I feel like you cannot top with one deck constantly. and be a good player if you don't ever play with something different. If you never ever play with, I mean, you don't necessarily have to tout the different decks you play with, but as long as you do play different things and challenge yourself and don't keep people who stick with one deck the entire time, I feel like you're restricting yourself. Like I feel like you're restricting yourself as a player to never switch your deck to a different deck. Even if the deck you don't have to play plants, you don't have to play agents, you don't have to play Karakuri, but you do have to like look outside of your comfort zone and prove that you can do more than just top with one deck or just play with one deck.
So you just play with what you feel comfortable with at the end of the day.
Well, is that and the fact that I always run my decks to people. Like that's one thing about me. I never ever play with a deck before I send a deck list to a couple people, and I make sure that they verify, look at it. I need a second set of eyes on every deck, if not more than a second set, because I feel like if you make a deck list, you will always have a little bit of bias towards it. You will always think that your creation is perfect for the most part, and if you don't have someone else look over it, they will see your imperfections before you will. So that's how I feel about that.
What are the top decks to you of this format?
I think undoubtedly right now, like no one can deny, Plants is right now still the best deck. Even with Rabbit being out, Rabbit being like a tough matchup, I feel like Plants is still the best deck, and then I feel like Rabbit is now the second best deck for sure. Like I feel like it's right under Plants. I feel like the matchup is really close up now too. I feel like it's like 60-40 in Plants' favor still. And then after that, I'll put third as Agents, and fourth Karakuri, and I don't believe in Dark World, so I'm not even going to say that's fifth because I just do not believe in that deck. I believe anything else can come after that. I hate that deck. I just think that it gives up on you during the tournament, which is really, really frustrating.
All right. Where do you consider your skill level at right this minute?
I consider myself to be like a pro in training. Like I feel like I'm still, I mean, I have 6 tops, but at the same time, I feel like I'm still learning a lot of things. Like I'm still learning how to play in the top. One of the things that I'm having a problem with is getting further in the top. So I want to make sure I learn, like this year coming up, my resolution as far as Yu-Gi-Oh goes is to get farther when I top. You know, I'm not satisfied anymore. Like it was cool at first to just top 16, like top 32, but now it's kind of getting to the point where I want to actually start winning and I want to start getting prize cards every time. Like I want to start pushing it further. Topping is starting to become mediocrity to me. So I really want to make sure that in 2012, when I start topping again, I do more when I get there.
Who is your favorite player of all time? Or one that you admire?
My favorite player of all time?
Or both?
I do have to say, there's 3 people who I really admire right now. I admire Billy, I admire Sean McCabe, and I admire Alistair a lot. And the reason why I admire all 3 of them is for different reasons. Like Sean McCabe, he's just like a very, very modest person. He's very creative. He's also got 6 stars. He's a really good player. He doesn't like the spotlight. He kind of reminds me of Lazaro, like the same type of modesty and humility. Like he doesn't want any of the fame and everything like a lot of people do. And then you have Alistair. Personally, we have some personal things that we discussed, and like just Yu-Gi-Oh! And the way you talk to people when you start to become a pro. And he's taught me how to gain a better respect for a lot of situations that I incur. Like a lot of people come to me and say things that are just hard to deal with, and if you don't handle it correctly, people start to look at you in a negative way. So talking to Alistair has helped me to move past that and learn how to actually just take every situation and take it one situation at a time, just calm down, everything like that. And he's also just a really, really, really good player. Like I admire Alistair. Like he's been doing a lot. He's also like me. He tops with a lot of different decks. He topped with Black Wings, Frog FTK. He topped with
Anti-meta.
In Texas, he topped with Anti-meta. He topped with Plant 3 times this year. I mean, he's been doing a lot, I feel like. So he's really good. And then Billy speaks for himself. I mean, he's an honest player. He's a 2-time back-to-back challenger champion. Even before that, I did Duel of Master in Indianapolis with Billy. Billy's like one of the nicest people I know. I mean, the guy doesn't even curse, or at least as far as I know. And I mean, he's just a really nice guy. Like he's never cocky. He never throws his credentials at you, which I think is a big portion of being like a real pro. Like I feel like the pros who are just really cocky and like throw their credentials out at people in order to win arguments or to get their point across, and that's all they have to say on a particular subject. I think that's very pro-like is what I would call it. He never does that, and Sean McCabe never does that. So I feel like that's a really big defining factor of why I admire him.
All right. What do you think is the necessary part of being successful and staying successful at this game? Help me and the other players that are striving to become a consistent player. I do have 4 tops, and I am not saying I'm the best player. I'm not saying that I am a pro player, even though I believe I am a self-proclaimed pro because of what I did in the time frame that I did it in, and no one believed in the deck. So I still have room to get better, but I need help from the people that's on top right now. Coming from you, coming from Alistair, coming from Billy Brake, Ryan Spicer, all these top-notch players, we need to know.
I think one of the key things that you have to do in this game is to keep up with the game. I mean, if you really want to stay on point and stay always like doing well at events, talk to the top players. Don't be scared to talk to them. Sometimes they don't have time. Like sometimes you'll talk to me on Facebook, and honestly, I do not have time. I'm a full-time college student, but you still gotta talk. You have to read the articles. We write articles on ultrarealitygames.com. They sponsor me. I write articles on TCG Player. Alistair writes articles. Billy writes articles. All the best players write articles right now. That's the new thing. That's like the new pro thing that's happening right now. Is everyone's writing articles so that everyone can be on our level or try to aspire to get to our level. And you have to read, you have to play the game often. I mean, you use Dueling Network. I hate Dueling Network, but I mean, you have to do something. Like if you literally cannot play during the week, which I do not, then you can play on Dueling Network if you want to play test a deck. It's also easy to play test decks on there with your friends anyway, not random people. But I mean, you have to use Dueling Network. You have to go to locals. You have to play at regionals. You have to go to jumps. You have to travel. You have to put out money. You have to keep up with the expensive cards, and you have to make decks that are both good for the tournament specifically, and decks that are also well-rounded altogether. Like at Kansas, Rabbit came out, and the reason why I didn't play it personally was because I was drawing normal monsters. I couldn't find a perfect build, and I felt like I could do a lot better with plants. I mean, I almost felt like I copped out a little bit because I didn't play the deck that I like to top with a different deck every time, and I already top with it in Toronto. So I was a little disappointed in myself for playing it again, but I felt like I honestly could not win the tournament with the Rabbit deck, drawing the way I was drawing with the build that I had. Mm-hmm. So I think that if you can't find a build for the deck that you're trying to play at an event that stays successful, then don't play the deck. Honestly, don't force yourself to play something that is honestly not.
All right. Well, honestly, it's not good that you just shouldn't play it. I have two more questions. I got 3 minutes with you briefly.
Okay.
Courtney Waller. How do you feel about this guy? I have some information, but I want to hear from you. What is going up with you? Do you not like the guy for doing what he did in the...
No, it's not that I don't like him as a person. As a Yu-Gi-Oh player, it's different. As a Yu-Gi-Oh player, I just don't... The way he's handling himself with the videos and stuff like that, and the message that he sent me on Facebook, and the comments between him and Hoban are just... I think it's blown out of proportion. I think it's ridiculous. As a player, winning the YCS, playing the way he did, I do not agree with. He won. That's nice. A lot of people win all the time that either got lucky or just... You can't get lucky winning a jump. I don't care what anyone says. It is very possible to... It can just be your fucking day. Sometimes it's just your day. And sometimes it doesn't matter who you play against. You will just beat that person no matter how much better that person is against you. Like, in Kansas, Billy lost to 2 Dragon decks. I highly doubt that those Dragon deck players were as skillful as Billy or played the game as much as him, but they still were able to win. So on the level of Courtney, the plays that he was making and the plays that he allowed to make, like the synchro to Landois with the light muzzle, I just think that it kind of makes me want to win another jump to separate myself from people who only have one jump win, because I feel like it's a little easier nowadays to win just one jump off of maybe a suppress rate. Like I feel like sometimes people might say that about me. Like maybe I only won because of Gravekeepers, and maybe I'm only the Gravekeeper guy. I will never win again or something like that. So I want to prove that wrong, and I also want to prove that being a pro is not just winning a jump and then saying, "Oh, I'm a pro now." You really have to like stay in this game, be consistent. So if he consistently tops in 2012, I'll be like, "Cool, he's the real deal." But like if he falls to the side, like everyone's saying he will, then it will speak for itself.
Hansel fell to the side.
It is what it is.
Oh, all right. Well, because Hansel will explain that in his next video. Well, thank you, Frazier, for appearing on the Winston Profiles.
Absolutely.
There will be a part 2 to this video, as you already know. So, without nothing else to ask you besides, will you be defending your championship, yes or no?
Yes, I will. I will be there in Atlanta in February. I will probably play something completely different. So I'll be looking to defend my championship. Also, I want to say, give a shout out to my sponsor, Ultra Reality Games. I write articles on their website. Check us out. We have a Facebook fan page.
Link is down below.
Yep, check us out. It's a really good website, guys. Like, if you don't read it, you should really get into reading it. Right now, we're doing article contests, so you might see a lot of things that aren't by the pro players, but still read the articles that are by Billy and me and Alistair.
And Jeff Jones and everyone else. All right, well, thanks, Frazier. You already know. If it's not pro, it got to go. Deuces.